Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and are done wrong. This video comes from New Jersey. New Jersey's Attorney General's office is responsible for doing investigations on officer-involved shootings and other incidents involving deaths in relation to police encounters, and they are the ones who, for transparency reasons, release information out to the public. They don't do a typical critical incident briefing or anything like that. They literally just take the files and put them in a Dropbox pretty much, and you have to go through all the different videos to see what's going on. They also do 911 calls and stuff like that on some of these. So the only information I have for you is a news release from the Attorney General's office and a news article concerning this person involved. So this news release from the Attorney General's office came out in February 9th, 2023. Pinebrook. The Attorney General's office today released video from officers' body-worn cameras related to a deadly police-involved shooting at a Pinebrook, New Jersey motel on Saturday, December 31, 2022. James Allandale, 61, formerly known as James Allen, of Denville, New Jersey, sustained fatal injuries in the incident at the motel on Route 46 on New Year's Eve. According to preliminary information, members of the Morris County Sheriff's Emergency Response Team, SERT, were at the motel to assist Bergen County Prosecutor's Office detectives with taking Mr. Allandale into custody, based on an arrest warrant issued for Mr. Allandale, charging him with attempted murder and other related charges in connection with an incident on December 27, 2022 in Elmwood Park. Detectives ascertained that Mr. Allandale was inside a particular room, and members of the Morris County SERT team made entry at approximately 7:18 p.m., whereupon Mr. Allandale exchanged gunfire with Sergeant Fred Jackson of the Denville Police Department and Morristown Police Sergeant James Cross, who are members of the Morris County SERT. A paramedic attached to the SERT was on scene to provide advanced life support, but Mr. Allandale was pronounced deceased at approximately 7:27 p.m. Authorities recovered a firearm near the deceased. The two officers were transported to an area hospital for non-life-threatening injuries and were released. That's the end of the news release. Now I'll go to an article that gives you some more information about this guy. This article comes from Daily Voice. Girlfriend of fugitive Elmwood Park shooter didn't originally know his violent past. The death of fugitive James Allandale during an exchange of gunfire with police out of Route 46 motel came days after his girlfriend, whose friend he'd shot, made a public plea to end this nightmare. Lisa Dolak included the police wanted poster while asking folks on Facebook to help authorities track down and capture ex-con James Allandale. I am pleading to all my friends, please post on your page this below. We need to end this nightmare. Please copy and paste, she wrote, Thursday, December 29. Flood Facebook today with this. Please help me. Allandale, 61, who police said shot Cindy Greco of New Milford at Dolak's home Tuesday night, has a violent criminal history that includes an armed kidnapping more than 20 years ago. However, neighbors reportedly said Dolak apparently wasn't aware of that when he moved in with her 18 months ago, and recently had been trying to get him to move out. Allandale was killed in an exchange of gunfire with law enforcement officers at a Route 46 motel. It's an understatement to say Allandale had a checkered past. Records show he'd apparently changed his name from James Allen after serving time for kidnapping an ex-girlfriend at gunpoint in a supermarket parking lot in Wayne in the year 2000. The abduction made headlines after Allen had a chance meeting with celebrity attorney Johnny Cochran in a Midwest airport while on the run. That's stupid. Allen had just been released from Overlook Hospital in Summit, his wrist still bandaged from a suicide attempt, when his ex-girlfriend emerged from what was then the A&P on Valley Road. She was with her 86-year-old mother. The 50-year-old woman, who worked at Passaic County Courthouse, had gotten a restraining order after Allen allegedly threatened to kill her and her family if she tried to leave him. Authorities at the time cited bipolar and/or mixed personality disorder and depression that compounded Allen's obsession with the victim, according to court papers on file with the New Jersey State Parole Board in Trenton. Keep that in the back of your head. I'll come back to that and rant about that. Allen already had a history of domestic violence, with both his former wife and one of his own sisters filing restraining orders against him. He had a sawed-off shotgun that he'd gotten from a friend concealed in a bag when he forced the ex-girlfriend into her car and had her drive off, leaving her elderly mother stranded. A 4-day odyssey followed in which the victim convinced Allen to toss the gun out the window in upstate New York. They then drove to Chicago and later to the airport in Iowa, where Allen approached Cochran. He wanted to fly to Las Vegas to marry the victim and needed legal advice about what he said was a pending criminal case in New Jersey. As the two men spoke, the victim mouthed the words, "No, no, no," to Cochran's female assistant. Allen was then convinced to go to the police. Jurors convicted Allen of illegal gun possession, criminal restraint, and violating a domestic violence restraining order. He was sentenced in July of 2002 to 10 years in prison, only 4 of which he'd have to serve before being eligible for parole. It's believed he ended up serving 6 after initially being denied release. I'll come back to that. What role Grieco may have played in any possible conflict between Dolac and Allandale was not immediately clear. The women had worked together at HUMC and had been friends for some time. A friend of both women said Grieco was trying to protect Lisa when authorities said she was shot at Dolac's home in the 100 block of Lincoln Avenue shortly before 5:30 p.m. December 27. Authorities didn't say what type of weapon was used. Friends said Grieco was shot in the head 3 times, leading to speculation that it may have been an airsoft or other non-lethal type of gun. Instead of coming back to this one, I'll just say this right now. Handgun ammunition is weak, and sometimes you can shoot people in the head with a pistol, and it won't go inside their head. It'll skip off the skull, ricochet off the skull, or just stop right there within the skull itself and not go past it into the brain. So just because he shot her in the head 3 times and she didn't die, it doesn't mean he was using an airsoft or another, non-lethal type of gun. Anyway, going back to the article. Police found Grieco a short time later at a 7-Eleven on Broadway, Route 4, in Fairlawn, about 2 miles away. It was unclear whether she or someone else drove her there. Grieco, who just turned 63 on Christmas Day, was taken to Hackensack University Medical Center with injuries that a source with direct knowledge of the incident said were not considered life-threatening. Allandale fled the home in a white pickup truck that police found abandoned hours later along Route 20 in Patterson. And that's it on the article. Alright, so let me scroll back up to the top. Authorities at the time cited bipolar and/or mixed personality disorder and depression that compounded Allen's obsession with the victim, according to court papers on file with the New Jersey State Parole Board in Trenton. So what does that matter? Well, when it comes to final sentencing and when it comes to parole board, they take into consideration more than just the offender's criminal background and the crimes that occurred. They also look at the person's life history, their life experiences, and people who have been abused as children, etc., who have these mental health problems. Those are taken into consideration about how long you'll sentence someone, if they're going to get parole, etc. What's interesting about these things is, for example, childhood abuse. There may be no evidence that such a thing has occurred. No one's been arrested for it, etc. But all they got to do is say that, such and such family member touched their booty hole as a kid, and they're now a victim of trauma. And because they're a victim of trauma, they get treated a little bit differently. The mental health issue, that is a Band-Aid crutch kind of bullshit thing. It's a cop out, Oh, mental health issues. Oh, I was just a little crazy that day. No, I'm not buying it for the majority of shit. It's a cop out. People, wanting an excuse about why they're so fucked up, while they're just a piece of shit person. Oh, it's just not me. It's just some mental health issues. I'm a victim. But keep that in mind. That's why these pre-sentencing reports and stuff that's generated, it'll have information like that in there, and judges will look at that and they take that into consideration. Parole boards take that stuff into consideration. Lots of different places go by trauma-informed care, and that is basically saying that the offender, the criminal, is a victim. That's what trauma-informed care is. That's its whole mindset. The person who commits the crime is the victim, because they had a traumatic upbringing. They had some type of trauma in their life that made them like that. And because they're a victim, they shouldn't be getting the full brunt of, the law, whatever. Complete bullshit. We see how that model, how that mindset is destroying this country. It's not helping us at all. It is making things worse. So he was sentenced to 10 years. 10 years. Four of which he would serve and then be eligible for parole. Sentenced to 10 years, you only serve 4 years, and then you become eligible for parole. That makes no sense. None, especially for the circumstances involved. Him kidnapping a woman by force with a gun. He could have killed her. The elderly mother being stranded, left uncared for. Elderly abuse right there. That's like leaving a kid in the parking lot. Leaving them. And all he got was a final sentence of 10 years. Only had to serve 4 years before becoming eligible for parole. That's fucked up. Although I don't know New Jersey laws, I don't know the particulars of that case, I am willing to bet that he took a plea deal The prosecutor said, hey, instead of you getting these 25 or 30 years, you do 10, you could probably get out in 5. And the guy took that plea deal. That's another miscarriage of justice. Prosecutors giving plea deals to people who do not need to be getting plea deals. This is a violent person. Why are we giving a deal to a violent person like that? Why even entertain a deal? Like, what does this person bring to the table? Like, what what do they have to barter with, to say, hey, we're going to have to debate this? Like, there's no fucking debating that. This dude's nothing. He's nobody. They should have went all the way with it. Take him to trial and go for the max amount. We do need justice reform in this country, but not the way the left wants it. The justice reform that we need would be stopping bullshit like this. Because we don't have a justice system anymore. We have a broken legal system. It is an insult to even refer to it as a justice system, because there is no fucking justice. There's a miscarriage of justice. So, personally, I think that the people involved in his kidnapping conviction, the judge, the prosecutor, everybody, everyone involved in saying, yeah, this guy does 10 years, or he gets sentenced to 10 years but only has to do 4, everyone involved in that should be held responsible for this woman being shot in the head by this guy. They should all be subject to civil cases. Because they took this dude, who is a clear and present danger to society, and allowed him to go back out into the community. And then almost kill a woman. No telling what other things he's done, he just hasn't been caught for. And so when the left talks about wanting to end qualified immunity, okay, let's start with parole boards. Let's start with judges and prosecutors. Let's end qualified immunity for them first before we ever consider ending it for the police. I guarantee you, if we did that, we would start seeing criminals locked away appropriately, because they would be too fucking scared to let these miscreant motherfuckers out early, because they knew if they let them out early and they went out and they hurt someone else, they'd lose everything they worked for. They'd lose their fucking house, they'd lose their car, they'd lose their property. So they would do the right thing at that point and lock them away. Alright, enough of the ranting. Let's get into the shooting.
Ram it. Ram it.
Shots fired, man down.
Hey,
Stay secure, secure.
I'm going over him. Going over him. Go with him. I'm secure over. Right here. Please. Everybody good?
Clear, good, Jimmy. Wait till our target's secure.
Hold on. Move. Hold on.
Are we target secure? Hold on. Are you clear in there? Is the head clear?
We gotta move.
Target secure.
Alright. So let's go back into the beginning of this. So the prosecutors, detectives have tracked this guy down to a hotel room or motel room, whatever. It looks like and sounds like they initially tried to use a key card to gain entry into the room. We couldn't see a whole lot because the body cam footage was blocked mostly by the shield, which that in and of itself, this is a specialty team, right? It's a SERT team. The shields need to have the ability to put a body camera on them. It makes zero sense to me to have everyone equipped with body cameras and then the shield person have a shield and then that shield completely blocks the body camera. Makes zero sense. So specialty teams wanting to use shields, I think that they need to have a body camera mounted to the front of those shields to be able to capture the stuff that's going on in front of the shield. Otherwise, you ain't capturing shit when the shield's in front of the camera. But anyway, based off some of the sounds and stuff, it almost seems like they initially tried to use a key card to gain entry into the room. They weren't able to get entry into the room, and so they utilized a battering ram. You can see right here there's no huge marks on the door, but once they go in or start to make entry, you will see big marks on the door right there. Yeah. So the battering ram took a few swings to get this door busted open. They made enough noise to give this guy time to get somewhat prepared. Was he asleep? I have no idea. He could have been asleep. He could have been asleep in that room, and the first couple pounds on the door allowed him to jump out of bed, get his gun, and get it pointed at the door. And then as those officers made entry, boom, gunfight. Two-way range. Battering rams are great, but it's not a one-swing deal to get a lot of doors open. Some doors you can get a one swing on. It'll come right open. Other doors, like these more industrial style doors, metal doors with metal frames, and etc., those can be a little bit more difficult to breach. I think a better option is utilizing pyrotechnics, using explosive door breach. Now, the downside to using explosives on doors and stuff like that is really for the property owner. Now, if this was like this dude's house, then your risk mitigation and stuff like that, you can say, you know what, that's his house, fuck his house. We're going to fuck it up. But this is a hotel owned by someone else who's done nothing wrong. They just rented a room out to a person they did not know was a fugitive. So it kind of sucks to like blow their door open and destroy shit, and then they be, stuck with the bill. So when it comes to things like this, I think there should be a special fund set to the side from agencies to be able to repair costs if they, destroy a door getting in. and that would allow for them to want to, use better breaching options. Had they used an explosive breach on this door, number one, it would have been instantaneous, most likely. That door would have been breached, and they were able to get in there and swarm that room and dominate that battle space. And because it would have been so fast, they would have been able to take him by surprise. He would not have had the ability to get himself into a standing fighting position and get his gun aimed at the door. Most likely. It's likely that if they had been able to take him by surprise like that and swarm in, he could have had a freeze reaction. He still could have fought, potentially. He could have, grabbed the gun and tried to shoot it out laying on the bed. If he was even laying on the bed. I don't know if he was or not. But it's likely that that initial boom and shock, he would have froze. And they would have taken him into custody, and it would have been done. But because the door was hit multiple times with the ram, and it took time to get into that room, I think that he went from freeze to fight. And that put these officers at a disadvantage of going into the room. So an explosive entry would have instantaneously got that door open, and because it's an explosion going off, it would have had a bit of a distraction effect, similar to an NFDD, like a flashbang going off. Just imagine, you're in your room sleeping, and then boom, the fucking door explodes. An explosive charge goes off. Like, that's going to scare the shit out of you. Like, you're going to be shook. It may not be as drastic and as impacting as a flashbang going off right in that room, but I guarantee you, an explosive charge going off at the door to the room that you're sleeping in, kaboom, goes off, door flying open, and then next thing you know, dudes swarming in with rifles. Like, that's... Most people in a resting state, not expecting that to go off, not anticipating for it to go off, it's going to take them by surprise, and they're not going to be able to react quickly enough to be able to do anything about it. It's going to take them by surprise, get them while their pants are down, so to speak. Now, did they have the ability to do that? I don't know. They may not have any of that stuff. It may have been a battering ram only kind of thing. If that was the case, then I think that they could have, on top of using the battering ram, went ahead and broke the glass to that window at his room and start deploying flashbangs into the room to rock his world before they were able to get into that room. Another option, it's not the best option, but another option would be not even breach the room at all and wait for him to come out, because he's going to come out of that room at some point. Alright, he's not going to be able to, Osama bin Laden it and stay in there for years and never, come out. Well, even bin Laden came out. But you get what I'm saying. Like, he's going to have to come out of that room at some point. And so that could be an opportunity to take him down. The downside of that is, one, you don't know when he's coming out. And so you have to have a team standing by, ready for him to come out, and then, thinking about rotation, because you have someone sitting, waiting for so long. That's taxing on a person. Being ready, you got to have some rest periods right in there. So having people switched out, etc., And then what if he comes out during a time where there's a bunch of other people out? That's not a very ideal time to do that. That then puts other people at risk. And speaking of putting other people at risk, so were there people in these rooms adjacent to him? Was there any actions taken to get those people to move out of those rooms in the event that bullets started flying and went through walls? I have no idea if anything was done for that. But that's something that, would need to be thought about.
Shots fired, man down. Hey. Shots fired.
So, I'm not the biggest fan of shields because it requires you to have to use a handgun and hold that handgun one-handed. Handguns compared to rifles suck. They're not very accurate, and the terminal ballistics are just not as good. So this officer who's on point makes entry into the room using a shield, which means he can only hold his handgun with one hand. And now this handgun that he's using is underpowered and is not as good as a rifle. So he's already at a disadvantage, I think, going into the room. I think it would have been better if the point man would have had a rifle. If you're, doing this kind of work and going to be making entry like that, and you're concerned about wanting protection, get the armor that has the neck collar on it and the deltoid armor, the armor that goes over the arms and stuff, and then have your helmet with a ballistic face shield over it, or a ballistic mandible thing. You could be armored up and still be able to wield a rifle. The shields, like I said, I'm just not a big fan of shields anymore. I just think that they're more of a hindrance than anything. I think with the stuff that we've got out now, you can be armored up enough to where you don't need a shield. He also has a very small weapon light on this pistol here. This is an okay weapon-mounted light for concealed carry. Like if your purpose is to be carrying concealed, then this type of light is acceptable. This light is not acceptable for duty grade use. Patrol, SWAT, whatever. This just doesn't have the candela or the lumens. It just doesn't. This will not perform the same as an X300. It's just very underpowered. I don't know why agencies are wanting to use these damn things. I think it's more or less for aesthetics because it, looks nicer. It's kind of more, even and flush to the front. You don't have this light sticking all the way out, right here. I don't know the reasoning behind it. I just know that they're not using good tactical reasoning behind getting these lights. Because if they were thinking from a good tactical mindset, they'd be rocking full-sized weapon-mounted lights on these guns instead of these little tiny-ass things.
All right, man down.
We'll go into this guy's video here in a second, but we don't get to see a whole lot of him and what's going on with this gun right here. So I'll use this opportunity.
Shots fired, man down.
Use this opportunity to talk about what he's got going on. So he's got a silencer on his rifle. He had a weapon-mounted light that was activated. He just turned it off. But you can also see he's got a laser on there, and on his helmet he's got night vision, and he's got a red dot optic on there. If you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle, and bring your friends with rifles. Rifles are way better than pistols. They're more accurate, and the terminal ballistics on them are night and day. You can achieve rapid incapacitation of a threat with fewer rounds from a rifle than you can, say, with a pistol. In general, it may take 1 to 3 rounds of rifle to gain rapid incapacitation, whereas with a pistol it may take 10 rounds. Again, that's not a hard rule. It's just, in general, it can be like that. Silencers on a rifle, in my opinion, are a necessary piece of equipment. The silencer reduces the overall sound signature of that rifle by, not completely, but it reduces it enough to where while that rifle is shooting, you can still communicate with other people. And when that rifle's done shooting, you're still able to communicate with other people and not be largely affected by ringing of the ears where you just can't understand much of what's being said. If you fire a rifle indoors in an enclosed space, it's loud. Even a pistol is super loud in a confined space. Shooting rifles indoors, yeah, you're gonna have some ringing of the ears at that point, and that can impede your ability to effectively hear. So, silencers on a rifle, completely necessary. They help reduce the sound signature to help you hear better. You can communicate better. They also help reduce recoil. You get reduced recoil in the rifle itself. That helps with you having more accuracy on that rifle, and you also get reduced muzzle signature on it as well. Not that big of a deal for most cases, but when you're running night vision, that does help a whole lot. That way you don't have your night vision blooming out every time you shoot the rifle. Another benefit to the silencer is, depending on the scenario, like in this scenario it wouldn't matter a whole lot, but like in a more kind of rural setting, in a wooded environment, outside, large open area, it's hard to detect exactly where a suppressed weapon is being fired from. A lot of people who've been shot at with suppressed weapons, they've indicated that it can be more difficult to ascertain where that's coming from versus a non-suppressed weapon being fired at them. So silencers, like I said, I think are necessary accessories and attachments for a fighting rifle. It needs to have a silencer on there. Alright, so that's it on this video. Not much else to see. We'll get into the second person's video. 4. Alright, here we go. Alright, so I just want to point out this person up here, he has the battering ram, and you can see that battering ram right there.
Side fire, man down. Hey, secure. No.
Go with him. Scoot over. We're good here?
Clear. Everybody good?
You good, Jimmy?
Secure, target secure.
Hold on. Hold on. We're target secure.
Hold on. Are you clear in there? Is the head clear?
You gotta move.
Target secure.
Help him. There.
Alright, so it sounded like it took about 5 tries with that ram to get into the door. So dude definitely had enough forewarning to be able to get into position. So very quick, very quick, very small area to go in and start doing work. The rifleman, he has a very small window, so to speak, of aiming around the person in front of him and getting his rifle on target. But he gets it on target and he does work. So it looked like the guy started to go down from the front man. I don't think that he was for sure incapacitated at that point. I think that the rifle is what ultimately incapacitated this person and took him out of the fight. I think that had it not been for this rifle person, there's a possibility the dude could have continued fighting from the ground where he fell at.
Shot fire, man down. Hey, secure. Man down. Hey, secure.
So once he drops the dude, he assesses him. He's no longer a threat. Now he's scanning. Now he's looking for additional threats. Just because they're looking for this guy doesn't mean there's not anyone else there. So he starts to go into scan mode, looking around. Here's a closet. Pretty damn easy to clear that. Nothing in there, right?
Sure.
Someone goes forward. They check that other room over there, clearing this space, making sure there's no other threats.
We're good here?
It's clear.
Are you clear? Yeah, it's clear.
Everybody good?
You good, Jimmy?
Secure target secure.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to secure. Hold on.
Are you clear in there? Is the head clear?
You gotta move
Target.
I'm trying to secure. Hold on.
Are you clear in there?
How does he not see that that's a fucking closet?
Is the head clear?
You gotta move
Target secure.
Help him. There.
Clear in there. Is the head clear?
Okay. Not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.